So now we get to the good, the bad, and the ugly from 1966. Like I said before, of these three movies, I'm not sure which is my favorite. It's between the first two. I would say I like the first two more than this one, but I still like it. Just not as much as the first two. Sorry, my nose is itching. But I still like this. It has a great showdown at the end between the three. Love the way it's edited with all the cuts with the people's faces and the up-close shots. The Ennio Morricone score, which I remember thinking before, man, it's kind of a theme I've heard so many times. I think, sadly, it's one of those things that's been overused in so many parodies or so many things to try for a comic relief. Like The Expendables 2, with Chuck Norris comes out. I don't think it should have been the theme to this. I think it should have been something else. Like, lo and behold, how about a Chuck Norris movie? Says it's Chuck Norris. How about Invasion USA, Missing in Action, Lone Wolf McQuade? I think that would make more sense. But when you listen to the music matched with Sergio Leone's images and the way he did the films, it really hones in on how great the score is. It really does. Especially when you listen to the full score, not just the wah, 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 but when you listen to the full score and all the different elements, different pieces of the score throughout the movie, it really goes to show you how great the music is. I did a stream a while ago, and someone mentioned how Ennio Morricone is pretty underrated. He's never got an Oscar nomination. He got a Razzie nomination for John Carpenter's The Thing, which shows how useless the Razzies are, but yeah, he did such a great job with scores. Even Exorcist 2, the score is memorable. It's like the most... Sally, I would say the best thing about that movie is the score. It's fun. It's not... I mean... na 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 na. It makes me laugh. So, if I get into the good, the bad, and the ugly, it is a 2-disc. I guess from what I understand, the Blu-ray has the longer version, which is technically 2 hours and 58 minutes, and then I guess just the DVD, unless I didn't know how to access it, but the DVD only has the shorter version, which is about... it's 161 minutes. 2 hours and 41 minutes. So about 17 minutes less. And maybe that's the mistake. I watched the 3-hour version, the 2 hour 58-minute version. Because the added scenes, it's cool to see them there, but maybe it helps with some continuity problems or so forth. But I can't say... So a couple were okay, like when Lee Van Cleef goes into this Confederate... this army... I'm not sure if it was Confederate, actually. Let me take that back. Goes to a military outpost and sees how shitty the conditions are. And yeah, at least you get some nice scope with how they had the sets and the number of people they had there. But it's not something I think the next time I ever watch this, I'll just watch the shorter version. Which again, I think it's only on the DVD version. Which if that's the case, and I did it wrong, it's sad the shorter version isn't on the Blu-ray as well. But the movie is 2 hours and 58 minutes, and I do feel it's a bit over bloated and a bit too long. I do like the film. I think the actors do a good job. Clint Eastwood, which He doesn't get his poncho in this until later on in the flick, which I think is why some people thought this was a prequel, but technically none of them are connected. They're different characters. Like the guy Lee Van Cleef plays in For a Few Dollars More is not this guy, who dies at the end because he's the bad guy, aka the bad part of the title. But Lee Van Cleef does a good job in the bad guy. It was funny watching this again and realizing Lee Van Cleef is not in this movie that much. He really isn't. There's literally like an hour where, aside from one scene that's about 2 or so minutes, and it's like the deleted scene, one of the deleted scenes they added in, he's not in it for like an hour at least. So you realize, although he does make an impression, so maybe that's why they did that. And Clint Eastwood, once again, that great presence, man of few words. And Eli Wallach as Tuco, aka the ugly part of it. Which is funny, when you watch the trailer, they fucked up. And when you watch the trailer, they made Eli Wallach the bad and Lee Van Cleef the ugly, and that's not how it is. Because even in the movie, they'll freeze on the person's face and go, the bad. And on Eastwood, the good. Thought that was a nice little touch in the movie. And from the opening, the music is great. Again, you realize the theme works very well with the images on the screen. And with the credits where they reveal the faces of Eastwood and Lee Van Cleef, and it's like either dust being blown off or wiped off, and I thought it was a nice way of, interesting way of doing the credits. Lee Van Cleef's character, he's the type of guy where when I'm paid, I always see the job through. So he kills one guy, and then the guy who hired him, before he killed the guy said, wait, don't kill me, I'll pay you, and you go kill him instead. He's like, okay. Then still kills him because when he's paid, he follows through. Then Lee Van Cleef gets to the guy, he's like, hey, I did the job for you. Fortunately, he paid me to do to you. So I did. When I'm paid, I always see the job through. So I thought that was interesting. And he puts the pillow on the face, and he shoots like 4 times in the guy's face, which is pretty violent. Definitely deserves the bad part of the title. Eli Wallach knows Clint Eastwood and had this thing going on, which was interesting. Eli Wallach has a bounty and he gets caught, and then they're ready to hang him. Eastwood will shoot the rope before he gets hung. They'll run off, go to another town, and keep doing that. And it's a scam, and they split the bounty that they always pick up. He calls it quits with the guy, splits up with Eli Wallach, and Eli Wallach gets pissed, and Eastwood goes, in gratitude with all the times I saved your life. Lee Van Cleef, he wants to know where this guy is because named Carson, just something to do with money and gold that he has, and he knows where it's at. And Lee Van Cleef even goes to the person's wife and beats the shit out of her, smacks her up to get some information. Eli Wallach, who's left behind, he goes in, gets a gun, tests it out, steers the guy to make him keep the gun. A deleted scene they put back in where he joins up with his 3 buddies, which then cuts to they try to kill Clint, and Clint kills those 3 guys. Eli Wallach tries to put Clint in the news to make him see how it feels. And this is during the Civil War, and cannons are firing everywhere, and cannon even fires in the place, and Eastwood's able to get out of there. And like I said, it's in the backdrop of the Civil War, and it does have some nice. Of the 3, this definitely has the biggest scope, and I would guess the biggest budget. There's definitely quite a few moments that you really see the scope of it, like when Clint Eastwood and Eli Wallach are facing down Lee Van Cleef's buddies, other bad guys. And they're in this town where it's just wrecked with destroyed houses as if cannons shot the shit out of them. Or later on when you have the North and South trying to get this bridge and fighting over this bridge. Again, some big scope and a lot of extras involved, a lot of people involved, which is definitely a big difference compared to a much smaller production like this movie. And I definitely appreciated the scope of the film. Because sadly nowadays, a lot of that people just put in post as CGI, or oh, I'll just put the house in CGI, put this in CGI. Take a couple extras and multiply them to make it look like 100 people. They would just do that nowadays. But you really feel the scope of it, so I liked that. You do have this bit where Eli Wallach does catch Clint Eastwood and makes him walk through the desert. And this scene goes on quite a bit long, and because I saw the extended cut, it goes even a bit longer, where he tastes the water, doesn't give the Clint, and he's bathing his feet, and he's eating in front of Clint. And I don't know, I mean, maybe it flows better in the theatrical cut, but it just felt like it went on forever. And I maybe that's my main problem with The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. It's just a very long film. But again, it's my fault because I watched the version that was 17 minutes longer. So I should have watched. But I wanted to give it a shot. Again, I would say the based on that, like the pacing, for me is its biggest weakness. Because after that, they get caught. They get put in this POW camp where Lee Van Cleef is there. And ugly Eli Wallach. I only say that because of the title. The one which in the movie they label. Eli Wallach, he gets beaten up, tortured, given that, hey, one thing I forgot to mention, in the desert, there's a stage show that passes by that does have the guy named Carson, and doesn't want to tell Eli Wallach, tells him a little bit, but then Clint Eastwood got there and tells him the rest of it. So that's how Eastwood has to keep, you gotta keep me alive, otherwise you won't ever get the gold. And actually, before they get caught, they go to this monastery. And so, well, I call it more of a missionary, not a monastery. It's more of a missionary. And one of the guys who leads it is Eli Wallach's brother. And you did a little bit more to Eli Wallach's character, which I appreciated, which made him a little bit more of an interesting character. Because the brother's more into religion and looks down on Eli Wallach's character. And Eli was like, well, how's our parents? And the guy goes, our parents died. Our mother died years ago. Our father died a few days ago. They want you there, but there's no way to reach you. I thought Eli Wallach, his reactions, they were nice. Even, one smacks one, one smacks the other. The missionary says leave and never come back. But then when the guy leaves, he's like, man, I'm sorry, my brother. And Eastwood saw the whole thing. But then when they're riding off together, Eli Wallach's going, hey, he begged me to stay, and he didn't want me to leave, but hey, I have to do that. So I thought it brought a bit more to Eli Wallach's character. And Eli Wallach did a good job in the role. He was a fun character to watch. So I appreciated that as well. And then that's when they get caught, because they have these Confederate clothes that they found. And they think it's Confederates' gray coats, but they realize that's the Union, the blue coats, but it's just, they're dirty from the dust. So it made them look like they were gray. And that's when they get arrested and took to the POW camp. And that's where we get Lee Van Cleef. Which, like I said, at this point, we hadn't seen them in an hour. And I like the line before that where Eastwood looks at Eli Wallach. He's like, God's not on our sides. Because he hates idiots. And he looks at Eli Wallach when they find out that it's the Union. But yeah, Lee Van Cleef beats the fuck out of Eli Wallach. He's like, oh, you know, where is it? Gets a little bit. He knows he can't get Clint Eastwood to talk, so don't write off. Eli Wallach is on a train. He's going to be executed. This takes the guy who beat him up. He jump off the train. He beats the fuck out of him. And a nice shot where he leaves the guy on the train and they're handcuffed and has the train go by. And Eli Wallach is like this far away from the train. Pretty damn dangerous. And you see like the body of the other guy shimmy around under the train. He catches it with Eastwood. Him and Eastwood work together. Fuck up Lee Van Cleef's buddies, his crew. Then you get them, Eli Wallach and Clint Eastwood, in this battle where like the North and the South want to take over this bridge. And they go in and they decide, hey, if we take out the bridge, they won't fight here. They'll fight somewhere else. And they blow up the bridge. Some nice practical spectacle to it. Again, some nice scope. And one thing that I like what they do with Eastwood's character, again, they make him sort of the decent character in the movie, where he sees a soldier who's dying, and he puts like a coat on him, and gives him a cigar, says some words, looks over, looks back, and the guy dies, and he has a certain look on his face. Make sure if he's dead or not. So there's nice little touches that make the Eastwood character, again, more of a decent character than other people in the movie. And then you have some fun moments like when Eli Wallach is running off and Eastwood sees his cannon and lights the cannon and shoots it to try to fuck with Eli Wallach and does it again. And then they get to the cemetery and then Lee Van Cleef is there. And Eastwood's like, okay, I'll write the name under this piece of rock. Whoever is standing can get to that rock. And we have this beautiful looking standoff in this big circle, all three of them, great wide shots, and then wonderful editing where it's editing between all three pieces of their body, where their hands are, their eyes, and the back and forth with the Ennio Morricone music rising. That's a part where the extended bits, the length didn't bother me. Like, this is really creating the suspense and epicness. Can't even talk right. Epicness of the scene, where Eastwood just shoots Lee Van Cleef. And then Eli Wallach can't shoot because Eastwood took the bullets out of his gun the night before, just in case of anything. And he takes half the money. Eli Wallach, he puts Eli Wallach up as if he's going to hang him, but then doesn't, shoots the rope. And Eli Wallach runs like, you son of a bitch. And Clint Eastwood rides off into the sunset. What's funny, that bridge scene, there's a bit where on the features, Eastwood is talking about that scene. And him and Eli Wallach were standing around and the bridge blew up. And one of them said, you know, it'd be funny if they blew up that bridge and the cameras were not rolling. And then there was silence, and then they heard Sergio Leone screaming profanities because the bridge was blown up and it wasn't filming because some idiot who, I guess, was part of the group that helped him with getting the soldiers and stuff, or building the bridge or something. Hey, we'll give you the honor to blow it up. And he didn't know much about movies. So, okay, check it, okay? Okay. And he thought the okay is like, okay. And he blew up the bridge, so they had to build the bridge at the end. And take two. So I thought that was a funny story on the features. Again, quite a few features. So, but yeah, other than the pacing, the length, which that might be rectified if I watch the 17-minute less version. Again, I could be wrong, but if that's the case, I wish that version was on the Blu-ray then. Just all I could find on the Blu-ray was the longer cut. But I could be wrong. Because even on it says fully restored extended version high def. And it doesn't say like the theatrical cut on the Blu-ray portion. So if that's the case, I think that's kind of shitty. But other than the pacing, the actors worked well, all three of them. Again, Lee Van Cleef doesn't have a lot of screen time in the movie. I definitely would say I prefer him and for a few dollars more because there's more of him in the movie. But he's still nice for the little bits that he has. Still has a nice presence. Eli Wallach did a good job. Eastwood, great. The music, beautiful. Nice scope of the film. The landscapes, the wide shots. Some nice editing, especially in the finale. Great showdown at the end. Definitely an epic showdown. Again, other than the pacing and length of it, and but nice to see a bit more Lee Van Cleef's character. Overall, I like the movie. I like the first two more, but I do like the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's a good Western. And a pretty damn good trilogy of movies. Granted, not really sequels, but the tone and feel of them. And yeah, it's in the third act where when that soldier dies and he gives him the cigar, that's when he actually gets the poncho. Which, really enough, on the feature to this, one of them talks about in the script there was a scene that didn't make it into the movie, but was in the script where he came across a soldier, or like he came across someone and took a poncho and put it on. So I guess they took that bit of the script and put into this movie. But yeah, all three good westerns, good flicks. I would say the best of the quote spaghetti western movies. And Clint Eastwood said, "Yeah, I think Sergio Leone wanted him for Once Upon a Time in the West. I could be wrong, but he said, yeah, I did three. It was time to move on, and they're three pretty damn good flicks. So, thanks for watching. Take care, and we will see you later. Bye bye."